Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for joining us here once again with the Rural FASD Speaker Series. We are absolutely thrilled to be joined this month by Jill Dunkley. As you can see on our screen, Jill is a trauma-informed mindfulness instructor and certified yoga therapist. She began teaching yoga in 1999, became a yoga therapist in 2008. She deepened into the practice of mindfulness to help focus her mind and better meet the inevitable challenges life sends our way. In 2016, she received her certification as a mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor. She regularly teaches 8-week MBSR programs to mindfully reduce stress in both Lanark and Frontenac counties. She has been employed as a health promoter at the Sharbot Lake Family Health Team since 2013. Where issues such as poverty, racism, and mental health are prevalent. And as you know, here at Rural FASD, we are also extremely mindful of those 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which definitely is why we are so excited to have Jill with us here today as well. And in 2023, she came into our local area where she began developing programs at the Rideau Community Health Services in Smith Falls. She is passionate about helping participants in her programs become stronger and more stable in their minds, bodies, and hearts. She believes this can ripple out in good ways into the world, which we have definitely seen through our own living experience. And in her own life, this has manifested an intention to nourish her relationships with her family, community, and the natural world, which she loves to express through her landscape oil paintings as well. So a very holistic artist in a lot of different ways. And so we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Jill at this point, and we will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rob, for that introduction. And hi, everybody. And good morning. And thank you for joining me this morning to give you a taste of mindfulness. Of course, I'd like to begin with the acknowledgement that goes before all things, that I'm giving this talk from my home in Brook Valley, which is to the west of Perth. And that is situated on unceded Algonquin land in the Ottawa River watershed. So let's get to the subject at hand for today. So Rob, you're going to have to help me here. But I'm curious if any of you who've joined this program live have already tried practicing mindfulness. Rob, can I get a show of hands if there's anybody in the room is familiar with what mindfulness is?
We have about half of our audience.
Half of our audience, okay. So as you probably all know, mindfulness has become a buzzword of late. And you may have a very vague sense that it is beneficial, but maybe that's all that you know about it. So what I want to do today is give you a little bit of a better grounding of what mindfulness actually is, a little taste of it. And then if there's questions at the end of this, I can tell you how to go further with it. So where I'd like to start, Rob, if this is okay, I'm going to do a share screen in a moment. It's a very short 2-minute video. So the good news for those of you who have never done mindfulness before, we're going to start with something you're very familiar with, which is watching a video. So let's go here first. I am just going to share screen here, and just let me stop share for a moment, just because I want to make sure I've optimized sound. Yes, I have. Okay. So let me try that again. And I'm just going to bring this full up on the screen. And Rob, let me know if you can't hear anything, but here we go.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribes for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
All right. So, I'm kind of curious here, and Rob, if we're hearing crickets in the audience, maybe you can pipe up. But I got a question for you all that are in the audience. And what popped out at you in that video about what he was saying about mindfulness? Does anybody have any thoughts around that? What popped out?
It's a buffer between feelings and actions.
Did you hear us?
Yeah, no, right, because he said you can still be angry, but you don't have to run after the guy in the other car. Yeah, so it's a buffer. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Anything else jump out?
I would certainly say that they make reference to it's a mindset shift of some type, that it's a little bit different now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to become normalized, whatever that means, in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like so mindfulness will just simply become part of our daily lives, like recognizing it, like the importance, like exercise, for example. There was just one other thing that really popped out for me that maybe I'll share is when that guy who got cut off was getting really angry, getting pissed, he was noticing a buzzing in his chest, and his ears started to get hot or something like that. So this is a really important piece about what mindfulness actually is you actually connect a strong emotion to what you're actually feeling in the body, and you're aware of it as it's happening. So why is this an important thing to understand about mindfulness? So I'll just unpack that a little bit more. And then I'm the kind of person that isn't a talking head all the time. I actually get you guys to participate in what I'm talking about, so you get a direct sense of this. So just so you know what's coming. So what mindfulness teaches us is that every single one of our experiences that we have in our lives is actually filtered through the lens, like my glasses, through the lens of where we actually put our attention. So what a lot of research tells us, and certainly I can share it with you undeniably from my own experience, and certainly from the many students that I've taught, I can say very confidently that our mental health and our happiness can really be profoundly shaped by what we actually choose to do by where we place our attention. So what do I mean by attention? Okay, so that's just simply your faculty of awareness that you can probably sense right now as you're sitting here. So let's call it the flashlight of your attention. You've turned your flashlight on and there's the beam of the flashlight of your attention. And maybe right now you didn't have breakfast. And so your flashlight of attention is less on my words and more on the fact that you're really hungry and are there any muffins here today? Okay, so that may be where your attention is. Or maybe you have to go to the bathroom and you didn't go before, now you're stuck sitting here with Jill giving a presentation. You have to go to the bathroom. That's where your attention is. Maybe if you got quiet for a moment, can you notice any sounds, ambient sounds in the room? And then notice how your attention suddenly opens up into the soundscape. So your experience of this moment is profoundly shaped by where you choose to put your attention, but not only where you choose to put your attention, but how you choose to put your attention in that where you're focusing. So what does that mean? It means that everything that you see, that you hear, that you taste, that you smell, that you touch, that you feel, is experienced through the filter of your own mind. So are you ready now? This is where you gotta stop sitting on your hands, and we actually do an exercise to explore this so that you get a direct experience of this. Because mindfulness isn't about me telling you anything, it's about you experiencing it. So here's what we're gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to count down. 3, 2, 1. And then we're all going to count up together, but we're going to clap. 1, 2, 3. Are you guys ready? So I count down 3, 2, 1. We all clap together. 1, 2, 3. You got it? Okay, let's do this. So 3, 2, 1. Clap hard. 1, 2, 3. Now, place your attention in your hands. Widen your hands out as if you were holding a soccer ball. If you feel comfortable, you could close your eyes, but you don't have to. What do you notice in your hands? As I do it, I feel a fizzing and a popping and kind of a pins and needles sensation. Now, what would happen? What do you feel if you zoom your attention into your 2 thumbs? What do you feel? And then what do you feel if you zoom your attention into your 2 baby fingers? What about just the very tippy tip of your left baby finger? Can you feel the air on your skin? Can you feel the air on your skin as you slowly lower your hands down onto your lap? What's the temperature in your hands? Cool? Warm? Can you feel the weight of your hands on your legs? Can you turn your attention now to what you do 24/7, which is breathe? Could you watch your breath as you fill your lungs on your next inhale? Can you feel your lungs empty as you breathe out? As you breathe in again, can you feel your belly soften and rise? As you breathe out, can you feel your belly just soften and relax? Can you ride the wave of your attention as the breath flows into the body like a wave? And out again in your own breathing rhythm. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed, or you may have had them open the whole time. So that was maybe for some of you, your first experience of mindfulness. So I want to unpack what mindfulness actually means using a definition used by my teacher, Jon Kabat-Zinn. So I'm going to pop up onto PowerPoint now. So I'm just going to get this up on the screen. There we go. So mindfulness is awareness that arises through the simple paying attention. And the on purpose is where you choose to put your attention. You're always doing this in the present moment because it's only in the present moment you can actually feel your body or any of your sense doors. And here's the important thing with mindfulness, and I would unpack this in my program. You're not judging, because when you're curious, you can't judge. So you're very curious about this in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. So what I'd like to do now is stay on this PowerPoint presentation and explore now the point of why we just did that exercise together. And to understand why we did that exercise together, it's really helpful to understand the two modes of our mind. And these are otherwise known as the two slices of cheese: thinking and sensing. So in the mindfulness practice that we just did together, we were exploring placing our attention in our hands and into the sensing mode, because we felt the pins and needles and the popping. And we also, after a while, shifted our focus to the sensing mode in terms of our breathing. And yet, how many of you noticed in the breathing meditation that a lot of the time, and maybe in what you just did in that 2-minute practice, that our attention gets pulled into our thinking, planning, remembering, analyzing, evaluating? For many of us, we live in our heads, and that sensing of our bodies run in the background on autopilot. So why is that? Why is so much of our time spent in thinking and not in the sensing mode? So there's really good reasons for that. Our attention tends to default into the thinking mode to feel or to become very attuned for what's quote unquote gone off in our lives. What is threatening to us, what is worrying, or what is lacking. So, and we all do this. And the reason we all do this is because we've all come to this as a species through the necessity of survival. Our ancestors faced a lot of dangers: saber-toothed tigers, hostile neighbors, drought, famine, and therefore they had to be very alert and use the thinking mode of mind to figure out how to get out of a tough spot. So in contrast, our ancestors didn't spend a whole lot of time enjoying a beautiful sunset or receiving a compliment from someone. And so therefore we've evolved so that the good stuff in our lives isn't retained in our long-term memory like the threats to our survival are. So as one teacher likes to say, we have evolved as a species to be Velcro for the negative experiences and Teflon for the good experiences. So think about it. Think about it. We can be having a great day, and then out of the blue, something bad happens. It immediately snags our full attention. An unkind word, a missed deadline, the car breaks down, the kids are sick, and now I'm sick. Have you noticed how these negative stressors tend to accumulate, and then we wake up at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night thinking and thinking and thinking about how to solve the problem? So it's really important to be clear here when we're talking about mindfulness. Thinking isn't bad in and of itself. We need thinking to organize our day. You needed thinking to get here, to join this little mindfulness webinar. You need thinking to follow a recipe, give advice when you're asked. So thinking isn't bad. It's when we notice we're overthinking or ruminating and can't shut those thoughts off in the middle of the night, or we can't eat properly, or we start to get high blood pressure. That's when we need to learn how to shift gears from a thinking to undoing mode to a sensing and being mode. To bring more balance to the mind is a core skill of mindfulness. So how do we bring more balance into these two slices of cheese? So let's go back to what you just did. So I just guided you through a little practice that was a little bit more into the sensing mode. And research shows how beneficial it is to spend some time in the sensing, breathing realm, like I just guided you through. The mind is not spinning off as much in what you think is happening. You are present to what actually is happening. We are alive to the moment, and this can be wonderful in all sorts of situations, because then when we're actually feeling, like it showed in the video, that anger, but we're actually feeling it and noticing it. Okay, there's the buzzing in my chest. There's the clenching in the jaw. Yeah, I'm angry right now. When you give yourself that little space through the sensing mode, you don't blindly react. You can actually respond to situations more mindfully, with more choice, rather than habitually reacting and going down the same old ruts, the same old rabbit holes that have created so much stress in your life. So over time, through mindfulness practice, we are discovering a balance between being both in our senses and our thoughts, in a way that we're present in the moment with any sensations that arise, and a thinking mind that can respond skillfully to the challenges that inevitably arise in our lives. And the reason I did this talk this morning, I agreed to it. I don't agree to do all talks. You know why I agreed to do this talk? Because I know how much stress you are going through in your life. And I wanted to offer you something here. So in other words, we are mindfully responding rather than habitually blindly reacting to perceived threats to our health, well-being, and happiness. So I'm going to come off of share now. We're just going to do one more thing, and then you can go and do the rest of your day and whatever you want to do. But this is a slightly longer meditation, and I think you have been forewarned, or maybe not, Rob, that this one involves, oh, that you haven't told them. Aha.
Nope.
All right, so what are we going to do now? Surprise, surprise. I'm going to guide you through a meditation that takes us more fully into the sensing mode. And we are going to pay attention to something that we don't normally pay attention to in our daily lives. And it involves, for me, it involves one dried cranberry. Rob, what have you got to hand out here? Yes, he's got craisins too. So unless you're deathly allergic to craisins, we're going to do this exercise together. And if this is being recorded later for other people to watch at home, go find yourself a raisin or a dried cranberry or any other piece of dried fruit, if you can eat that. And yeah, we'll do this together. Are you ready? Are you ready, Rob? Woohoo! All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get seated comfortably. So get your feet on the ground, get your seat back in the chair. And by the way, this is what I teach in my mindfulness course. If you need to move around, if you're uncomfortable, move around. Do what you need to do for yourself to be kind to yourself. That's the first thing. Got it? Second thing. Take your one cranberry or raisin or whatever it is, and I want you to place it in the other hand. Place it in the other hand. Now, bring it in so that you can look at this little dried up, shriveled thing. And for now, you could even forget that it's actually called a raisin or a cranberry. Just forget calling it anything. You're an alien from another planet and you're just looking at this. So as you're looking at it, I want you to notice the shape of it and the color of it. And are there places where it's darker or lighter? Or maybe where the light is glinting off of it? If you were to take it in your fingers now and just turn it around slowly. As I do it, if I look really closely at it, I'm noticing a little circular scarring at one end, and it's a slightly different color from the rest of it. And you know what that reminds me of? That this little shriveled up something was once connected to a larger whole. This is its little umbilical cord. And now if you care to, you could maybe close your eyes if you're comfortable. And just let your finger feel the texture. I'm noticing a slight stickiness. I'm noticing ridges and valleys. And if you actually put it in the palm of your other hand, you can actually feel the heft of it, the weight of it. Now, open your eyes if you'd close them again and pick up your little something. And bring it a little closer to your nose. Breathing in the fragrance, if there is any, of this little something. In the domain of smell, what do you notice? Breathing, inhaling that in. And then, if you care to, you could bring this little something up to one ear and bring it in really close. And if you slowly turned that little something around in your fingers close to the ear, you might actually even hear something that we don't normally notice in these little shriveled up something. What do you hear? And now take that little something where you can see it again. And moving really, really slowly, begin to take this little something closer to the mouth, but don't put it in yet. Just bring it slowly closer. Now, as I do it, I'm noticing a secretion of saliva in my mouth. Now, this is really interesting because my mind is anticipating eating. But it hasn't gone in my mouth yet, but the body is preparing saliva and fluids and enzymes to begin the process of digestion. So this is very much a mind-body phenomenon. Now, if you care to, moving very slowly now, bring your little something to the lips. And opening those lips now, you could, without biting down yet, place this little something between your teeth and notice the intelligence of your teeth, your lips, your tongue, to place that little something between your teeth without biting down yet in your mouth. And then, very slowly, very mindfully, bite down. One chew. And notice what's happening in your mouth, what's happening in terms of taste. And as maybe you take 1, 2, 3 very slow bites, what's happening in the domain of taste? Can you hear something? Can you feel the texture of whatever is happening in your mouth? And continue to chew, but don't swallow it. Slowly, mindfully noticing the texture changing, the taste changing. And now the intelligence of your mouth, your cheeks, your tongue, to position this little something, what's left of it, to prepare to swallow, but don't swallow it yet. And then, when you're ready to, follow this little something as you swallow it. And as you move your attention now, bring your attention to rest in your belly, in your stomach. And in the aftermath of swallowing, resting in your awareness, notice how it feels in this moment as you sit here. Expand your awareness to the whole body after having just eaten one cranberry. In this open-hearted, spacious attention. Rest here in this being, in this awareness, feeling how things are right now, in the aftermath of all that came before. Whether your eyes are open, whether your eyes are closed, see if you can feel how it is in your body, in your mouth, in your heart, and in your mind. Just resting here. You could say outside of time, in the present moment, without having to have anything happen next. The challenge here is to be with the moment as it is, with the seeing of the raisin, the smelling of the raisin, the hearing of the raisin, the chewing, the tasting, the swallowing, and the aftermath. Be the knowing. Be that which knows the experience in its unfolding, as it's unfolding. Resting here, moment by moment by moment. And then when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. So Rob, I can't see the game, but I am curious. I'm always curious how that experience was for you folks. Hi, everybody. Hi. So, hi, great to see everybody. So, does anybody want to share what you noticed? There's no right or wrong. It's what did you notice come up in your experience as you put your lens of attention on it? Anybody want to share?
I became very relaxed.
Just pushed it in.
Interesting, hey? So in mindfulness, a lot of people actually do mindfulness expecting to become more relaxed. It's not always the case. However, when we put our attention into the present moment, it's often a very common byproduct. We become more relaxed and spacious, and we can respond to the moment with greater clarity and skill when we're more relaxed. And it's a practice like anything else. Anybody else want to share? I heard somebody else pipe in, but I didn't hear what they said.
So, Jill, you had a lot of competition, by the way.
Love it.
And you did an absolute wonderful job, because I definitely noticed you were maintaining everyone's attention, which is very impressive.
Woohoo! It's mindfulness, guys. It works. Trust me, it works. So Rob, okay, Rob, what did you notice? I'm putting you on the spotlight.
So I would certainly say that, yes, you have to be intentional in your thinking to be able to sense what is going on. And yet in doing that, every single time that you gave us an instruction related to the dried up cranberry in my particular case, definitely, yes. When I held it up to my ear, I heard things that I would not normally have heard. I definitely smelled things that I would not normally have smelled, even with my sinuses being nuts right now. And the fact that you talked about, are you starting to notice the saliva develop in your mouth as you're bringing it up to your mouth? That's like, oh my goodness, it is. And that's not, I wouldn't have necessarily have been aware of that. And I think at the end of all of it, I very much more so than I normally would have enjoyed the actual tasting and eating of the cranberry in this case a lot more than normally would have.
And did anybody else notice that this was a completely different experience of eating? And did anybody else notice that?
There was more of an explosion in my mouth with
Yes. So could you imagine if we actually took the practice of mindfulness into how we eat? How much more we would, I don't know about you, but I have, in less mindful times in my life, like just ripped through a tub of ice cream and not even noticed what I put in my mouth. Anybody else? Bag of potato chips, perhaps? We call that.
Got just about everybody smiling at me right now.
Yeah. So we call that in mindfulness autopilot, where you are doing something with your body, like we all need to eat, but you're not present. So what I just gave you was a very different experience of actually being present to the moment of that explosion, as somebody said, I love that, in their mouth. So yeah, so there you go, a literal taster of the mindfulness that I offer. Does anybody have any more comments or questions before I wrap up?
I was just gonna say that what it makes me think of is, the power or the messaging we have about multitasking and getting so much done and how many things we have to do in our day. And I sat there and I was just thinking, I think you have to make this a priority. And I also think that you can't multitask through this, right? Like, I think, the amount of time that we took to eat that one cranberry, after we were done, I was thinking that was a really enjoyable experience. And could you imagine having the time and space in your life to do that all the time? And so it just got me kind of thinking about, what do I need to let go of to actually be able to be present? So I don't have the answer yet, but it does have me thinking.
I don't have the answer either, but with like we all have our phones, yeah, and our computers, and here I am on Zoom. But the amount of suck of our attention goes into social media rather than our eating, for example. And so how you raise to me a key point, whoever raised that point, is that these skills that I teach are more important than ever because of the demands on our attention that just scatter our minds in 100 different directions rather than focusing in on what's really important in our lives, what is really meaningful in our lives. What is that? Is it mindlessly scrolling for an hour? I don't think so. We'll get into that more. So does anybody else want to share anything before I wrap up and just let you know about the next mindfulness program that's coming up?
I think go ahead, Jill.
Okay. So I mostly work out of the Charlotte Lake Family Health Team. Have a great working relationship with the program manager there. Her name is Laura Baldwin. And we've been quietly delivering these programs, mostly to the clients at the Charlotte Lake Family Health Team, but they very generously open up a few spots to the wider community. And so if there is space available, we do allow other people to join in. And it's online, and it's the next one's going to start on April 4th. And if spots are available, we will make them available to people who are interested. But somebody else made a really important point about we need to make the time for this. And it's true. And so what I do is anybody who's interested in registering for this program, I meet with them beforehand. I learn about what's going on in their challenges, their stressors in their lives. And we make sure that they could commit to the practices I teach for 8 weeks, one night a week from 6 to 8:30. It's going to start Thursday, April 4th. But you got to be able to realistically find in your day 45 minutes every day to do a mindfulness practice. If you can't do that, you wouldn't get the benefit from this program. So I really get people to carefully think, could they actually make the space in their life to actually probably make some really important changes for themselves? And some people are ready and some people aren't. So if anyone is interested, I am going to leave with Rob Laura Baldwin's email and phone number. You would need to get in touch with her relatively soon as we're starting up the registration program. The program is timely for you guys if anybody's really on fire for this, because we're just opening it up next week. So does anybody have any questions on mindfulness programs? It's an 8-week program, Thursday nights, 6 to 8:30, starting April 4th.
And I would assume that this programming that you offer is kind of an ongoing thing as well. Obviously, if folks weren't able to make this April 4th one, obviously it's going to be offered again in the future.
Yeah, we offer it once or twice a year.
Okay.
So the next one would probably happen in the fall or the winter of 2025. So it doesn't happen often, but it does happen at least twice in a year.
And so obviously you offer it online, but you're also, is it offered in person with the Rideau Health Community Clinic as well then, or what happens there?
That remains to be determined at this point. We're at a time of year, as you know, Rob, that we're in between one budget and another one.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, definitely understand that part. So
Yeah, I thought you might.
yeah. Thank you so much, Jill. This
You're
is and obviously, you know, I think hopefully through this video today, and I recognize that people are going to be watching this from a more static, rather where we got to participate in a more dynamic fashion, but definitely, as I think you heard from everyone's testimonials, that this is definitely something worth pursuing. It is definitely something worth looking into. We certainly saw the benefits of here today of having you join us. You made reference earlier to very much appreciate you coming in. Our audience does not know this was actually on extremely short notice. So we very much thank you for hopping in here at the last minute and offering up the session with us here today. Definitely, we're very mindful of some of the statistics out there related to primary caregiver well-being, particularly for children and adults living with disabilities, and just how difficult and challenging and stressful that it can be. And so any tool, any strategy that we can have is always appreciated. So thank you so much for that.
You're so
And-
welcome.
And so with that, we will leave our studio audience. We thank once again Jill Dunkley, who is a certified yoga therapist, primarily located out of the Charlotte Lake area. And if you ever have an opportunity to speak with her or work with that clinic, we'd certainly recommend that you do so. We are looking forward to next month, where we are anticipating that we will be joined by Charles Mikas of the Anishinaabe Aski Nation, who serves as the cultural liaison for them. And he will be sharing with us things that he wishes that folks knew about their nation and Indigenous people in general. So we look forward to next month's presentation as well. So once again, thank you so much, Jill. And with that, we will wish everyone good health and a fabulous month.
Bye, everybody.